The massive Galactic Council ship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Its crystalline surface reflected the distant sunlight, creating a spectacular light show that Earth's astronomers would soon detect. Inside the ship, the Council's first contact team reviewed their final reports with mounting concern. "Another primitive world," muttered Head Observer Davis, his three-fingered hand scrolling through holographic data. But something's different about this one. The ship's automated systems had detected unusual biological readings from the third planet. At first, the Council thought their sensors were malfunctioning. No civilized world showed such a chaotic mixture of viruses, bacteria, and other microorganisms living in apparent harmony with the dominant species. Earth's first official contact with alien life didn't happen with grand ceremonies or diplomatic meetings. Instead, it began with a quarantine order. The Council ship broadcast a warning message to all Earth governments simultaneously. "Your world harbors dangerous biological agents. Do not attempt space travel. Quarantine is for your protection." But they had it backward. Dr. James Walker was enjoying his morning coffee in his modest laboratory when the military vehicles pulled up outside. As the leading expert in viral pathology at the Global Disease Research Center, he assumed there was another outbreak somewhere that needed his attention. Instead, he found himself quickly ushered onto a helicopter. "Doctor," the stern-faced general aboard explained, "we need you to examine something. The entire world's scientific community is being mobilized." Hours later, in a hastily assembled international conference, Dr. Walker and hundreds of other scientists watched in amazement as alien representatives appeared on their screens. The aliens, looking remarkably humanoid except for their gray-blue skin and large eyes, explained their discovery. "Your species," the alien medical officer spoke through a translation device, "lives alongside the deadliest virus our galaxy has ever known. We call it the Void Plague. Yet you showed no symptoms. No signs of mass death. How is this possible?" The human scientists looked at each other in confusion. The aliens shared their data, and Dr. Walker's eyes widened as he recognized the virus's structure. It was remarkably similar to the common cold, but with key differences that made it devastating to other forms of life. "This is extraordinary," he said, studying the molecular structure. "What you call the Void Plague appears to be related to viruses we've lived with for thousands of years. Our immune systems have evolved to handle similar pathogens." The alien representatives were stunned. Their civilizations had spent centuries developing complex shield technologies and sterilization procedures to protect themselves from the Void Plague. Yet here was a primitive species that naturally coexisted with it. Over the next few days, Dr. Walker worked tirelessly with his team to understand this phenomenon. They discovered that human beings carried natural antibodies that could neutralize the Void Plague, thanks to centuries of exposure to similar viral structures on Earth. "Our primitive world," Dr. Walker explained to the Council representatives, "is a biological battleground. We've evolved alongside countless pathogens. What you see as a disadvantage has made us stronger." The Council's response was immediate. They needed human help. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy of new Void Plague outbreaks. Several advanced civilizations, with immune systems unprepared for such biological challenges, were already facing devastating consequences. Dr. Walker stood at his laboratory window that evening, watching the sunset. The alien ship now orbited Earth openly, visible as a bright star in the darkening sky. Humanity had just been thrust onto the galactic stage, not because of their technology or military might, but because of their resilience. Their messy, chaotic evolution had created something unique, a species tough enough to survive what the galaxy feared most. Tomorrow, he would begin assembling his team. The real work was just beginning. Humanity's greatest challenge would be finding a way to share their natural immunity with the galaxy. Dr. Walker smiled. After all, solving impossible medical puzzles was what humans did best. 3 weeks after first contact, Dr. Walker stood before the emergency meeting of the Galactic Council, his heart heavy with the news he had to deliver. The massive chamber, filled with representatives from 50 different species, fell silent as the holographic displays showed the latest infection maps. The Void Plague has now spread to 3 major civilizations, he announced, pointing to the red zones spreading across the star charts. The Meridian Empire, the Crystal Colonies, and the Deep Space Miners are all reporting thousands of new cases daily. The council chamber erupted in panic. Various alien representatives, some floating in anti-gravity pods, others appearing as pure energy forms, began talking all at once. The council leader, an ancient being who appeared as a shimmer of golden light, called for order. Dr. Linda Roberts, Earth's leading immunologist, stepped forward to join Dr. Walker. Her research team had made a disturbing discovery about the virus's origin. The Void Plague isn't natural, she explained, her voice steady despite the gravity of her words. It was engineered as a weapon, created by a species that went extinct over 10,000 years ago. The revelation sent new waves of fear through the chamber. The council leader confirmed her findings. We had suspected this, the Golden Being admitted. The Ancient Ones created many weapons before their disappearance. We thought all were contained. We were wrong. Dr. Michael Stone, the genetic engineer on the human team, displayed new data on the holographic screens. 40% of all known spacefaring species are now infected, he reported. The virus spreads through both physical contact and air systems. Even advanced ship filters aren't stopping it. Back in the makeshift laboratory aboard the Council's main station, the human team worked tirelessly. They had converted a cargo bay into a research facility, filling it with both Earth equipment and alien technology. Dr. Walker studied blood samples from various species, comparing their immune responses to human ones. Look at this, he called to Dr. Roberts, pointing at a microscope display. The virus behaves differently in each species. It's almost like it was designed to adapt. She finished his thought. But why didn't the Ancient Ones make it effective against humans? Because humans didn't exist as a spacefaring species when they created it. Dr. Stone joined the conversation. We evolved on Earth, isolated from their influence. Our immune systems developed differently. The situation grew more desperate each day. Reports came in of entire space stations being quarantined. The Crystal Colonies, with their silicon-based biology, were particularly vulnerable. Their crystalline bodies literally shattered when infected, spreading the virus further. Dr. Walker's team worked in shifts, testing countless combinations of human antibodies against alien tissue samples. The Council provided them with everything they needed, but time was running out. Several alien worlds had already fallen into chaos, their medical systems overwhelmed. There's something we're missing, Dr. Walker muttered, rubbing his tired eyes. He had been awake for nearly 20 hours straight. The answer has to be in our evolutionary history. Dr. Roberts burst into the lab, waving a datapad excitedly. James, I found something. She pulled up the results of her latest tests. Look at the virus's protein shell. It's almost identical to a common cold virus, just reversed. The team gathered around her display. She was right. The Void Plague structure was like a mirror image of one of Earth's most common viruses. This could explain why humans were naturally immune. Their bodies had been fighting similar battles for millennia. As they made this breakthrough, a new alert sounded throughout the station. The virus had mutated again, becoming even more deadly to certain species. The Meridian Empire had lost contact with 3 of its outer colonies. Dr. Walker looked at his tired team. They were humanity's best hope, working to save species they had only just met. The weight of this responsibility was enormous, but they couldn't fail. Somewhere in human biology lay the key to stopping this plague, and they would find it. Get some rest, he told his team. Tomorrow, we start working on a vaccine. We'll need everyone at their best for what comes next. The laboratory hummed with activity as Dr. Walker studied the latest test results. His small team had grown into a full research division, with both human and alien scientists working side by side. Rows of advanced testing equipment lined the walls, mixing Earth technology with alien devices in ways never before attempted. "This can't be right," he mumbled, checking the data for the third time. "It's too simple." Dr. Roberts walked over, carrying her own set of results. The dark circles under her eyes showed how little sleep any of them had gotten lately. "What did you find?" "Look at this," he pointed to his screen. "We've been studying the wrong thing. It's not just our current immunity that matters. It's our entire evolutionary history with viruses." The revelation had come from an unlikely source. One of the alien scientists, a floating blue sphere named First Light, had suggested looking at human historical medical records. What they found was astonishing. Humans had survived countless viral outbreaks throughout their history, each one making their immune systems stronger and more adaptable. "Our bodies are like living laboratories," Dr. Stone explained to the council during their daily briefing. "We've evolved alongside thousands of different viruses. Each generation became more resistant, more adaptable. What kills other species barely gives humans a cold." To demonstrate this, they showed the council a simple experiment. They exposed human blood samples to the void plague, then watched through microscopes as the human immune system fought back. The alien representatives were amazed to see human antibodies naturally attacking and neutralizing the deadly virus. "But here's the really interesting part," Dr. Roberts added, switching to a new display. "The common cold viruses we carry have already taught our bodies how to fight the void plague. It's like we've been training for this battle without knowing it." Not everyone was convinced. Several council members argued that it couldn't be that simple. How could a primitive species that hadn't even mastered faster-than-light travel have the answer to the galaxy's deadliest virus? The breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. During a routine check of the station's medical bay, Dr. Walker noticed something odd in the air filtration system. The human maintenance workers weren't wearing the same level of protection as their alien counterparts, yet they remained healthy. "We're not just immune," he realized. "We're carrying the solution in our breath." Further tests confirmed his theory. Human breath contained trace amounts of weakened cold viruses, viruses that could potentially be used to create a vaccine against the void plague. The human body had already done the hard work of breaking down and weakening similar viral structures over thousands of years. Dr. Stone quickly set up a new set of experiments. They exposed small samples of the void plague to these weakened human cold viruses. The results were promising. The cold viruses appeared to compete with and weaken the void plague, making it less deadly. "Think of it like introducing a competing predator," Dr. Stone explained to the team. "Our cold viruses are actually fighting the void plague for us, weakening it enough for immune systems to handle it." The alien scientists were fascinated. Their societies had always seen viruses as things to be eliminated, creating sterile environments wherever they went. Humans, by contrast, had learned to live with viruses, developing a complex relationship with them over millions of years. Dr. Walker gathered his team for their first trial run. They had modified a common cold virus to specifically target the void plague, hoping it would work as a vaccine. If successful, it could save billions of lives across the galaxy. "Remember," he told them, "we're not just fighting a virus. We're proving that sometimes the most powerful solutions come from the most unexpected places. Our primitive evolution might just be what saves the galaxy." As they prepared for their first trials on infected alien subjects, Dr. Walker couldn't help but smile at the irony. Humanity's greatest weakness, their messy, virus-filled world, had turned out to be their greatest strength. The emergency alarms blared through the station as Dr. Walker rushed to the communication center. The holographic displays showed 3 more worlds falling into chaos as the void plague continued its deadly march across the galaxy. The virus was mutating faster than anyone had predicted. "We've lost contact with the outer colonies of the Crystal Empire," First Light reported, its blue glow dimming with distress. "The virus has changed. It's breaking down their crystalline structures twice as fast now." Dr. Roberts burst into the room, clutching a datapad. "The vaccine trials are showing promise. But we need more time. The modified cold virus is working, but the delivery method isn't stable enough for mass production. The human team had been working around the clock, trying to turn their discovery into a usable vaccine. They had successfully modified the common cold virus to fight the void plague, but getting it to work across different alien biologies proved challenging. "What about the children's samples?" Dr. Stone asked, looking up from his workstation. They had noticed the human children seemed to have even stronger natural immunity than adults. Their immune responses are more adaptable. Dr. Walker nodded, remembering something important. Children's bodies are still learning, still adapting to new threats. Maybe that's what we need. A vaccine that can learn and adapt like a child's immune system. The team shifted their focus, studying blood samples from human children. What they found amazed them. Children's immune systems were not just fighting the virus. They were adapting to it in real time, creating new defenses as the virus mutated. "Look at this," Dr. Roberts pointed to a microscope display. "Their antibodies are actually predicting how the virus might change. It's like they're one step ahead of the mutations." But time was running out. Reports came in hourly of new outbreaks, each worse than the last. The virus had reached the core worlds, threatening the heart of galactic civilization. Panic spread faster than the plague itself. Back on Earth, resistance to their work was growing. Some human groups feared sharing their biological advantages would make them vulnerable. Keep Earth's defenses for Earth. They protested outside research centers. The alien worlds weren't much better. Several species distrusted using human biology to create a cure. "How do we know this won't make us more like them?" Their representatives argued in council meetings. "What if this makes us vulnerable to Earth diseases?" Dr. Walker understood their fears, but they couldn't afford to wait. In his private lab, he worked through another sleepless night, trying to perfect the delivery system for the vaccine. The modified cold virus needed to be strong enough to fight the void plague, but weak enough not to harm alien biology. "Doctor," one of his assistants called out, "something's happening with test sample 47. They rushed to the testing chamber. The sample, containing the modified vaccine, was showing unusual behavior. Instead of fighting the void plague directly, it was teaching alien cells how to defend themselves, just like a human child's immune system would. "This is it," Dr. Walker breathed. "We don't need to fight the virus for them. We need to teach their bodies how to fight it themselves." The breakthrough came just in time. 3 more worlds had gone dark, their populations devastated by the plague. The Council was considering desperate measures, including destroying infected planets to contain the spread. Dr. Roberts worked frantically to document their findings while Dr. Stone prepared the first batch of the new vaccine for emergency trials. They had one chance to get this right. "Send this data to all research stations," Dr. Walker ordered. "Every second counts now." As he watched the vaccine samples being prepared for distribution, Dr. Walker thought about how far they'd come. Humanity, once quarantined as a primitive risk, was now racing to save the galaxy. Their messy evolution, their ability to adapt and survive alongside viruses, might be exactly what the galaxy needed. The real test was about to begin. Would their vaccine work in time to save billions of lives? The next few hours would tell. The initial trials of the vaccine showed remarkable success. In the quarantine ward, infected aliens were recovering. Their bodies, taught by the modified human cold virus, were finally fighting back against the void plague. "The results are better than we hoped," Dr. Walker announced to the Council, trying to contain his excitement. 90% recovery rate in the first test group. The vaccine isn't just stopping the virus, it's teaching their immune systems to resist future mutations. Hope spread through the station faster than any virus could. Species that had been on the brink of extinction were seeing their first recoveries. The crystal people, whose bodies had been shattering from infection, were stabilizing. Even the energy-based life forms were showing positive responses. But not everyone celebrated this success. Deep in the lower levels of the station, hidden cameras watched the research team's every move. A group calling themselves the Pure Space Alliance had infiltrated the station weeks ago. They believe humanity's growing influence in galactic affairs was a threat to the natural order. The humans must not be allowed to save the galaxy. Their leader, a shadow-shifting being, told his followers, if they succeed, every species will be in their debt. They will have too much power. Dr. Roberts was working late in the main lab, preparing the next batch of vaccines for distribution. The security systems had been temporarily disabled for maintenance, or so she thought. She heard the door slide open behind her. Before she could turn, she felt the cold press of an energy weapon against her back. "Step away from the samples," a voice hissed. 3 figures in environmental suits entered the lab. They began placing explosive devices near the critical research equipment. Dr. Roberts watched in horror as they moved toward the cold storage unit containing months of irreplaceable research data. Her mind raced. The backup servers were 2 levels down, and she had just finished uploading today's crucial breakthrough. Making a split-second decision, she slammed her hand on the quarantine alert button. Protective shields dropped around the cold storage unit just as the first explosion rocked the lab. "No," the lead attacker shouted, firing his weapon. But Dr. Roberts had already lunged for the manual backup switch, sealing the research behind reinforced walls. The second explosion threw her across the room. Through the smoke and chaos, she could hear security teams responding to the alarm. She smiled, knowing the research was safe, even as darkness closed in around her. Dr. Walker arrived minutes later with the emergency response team. They found the lab in ruins, but the cold storage unit intact. Dr. Roberts had saved their work at the cost of her own life. The news of the attack spread quickly through the station. The Pure Space Alliance had hoped to turn species against each other, but their plan backfired. Instead, Dr. Roberts' sacrifice became a symbol of human dedication to saving all life, regardless of origin. She could have run. First Light told the assembled council. She could have saved herself. Instead, she protected the research that will save billions. This is the true nature of humanity. The council chamber, usually filled with debate and argument, fell silent. Then, one by one, representatives stood, or floated, or glowed, in respect. The leader of the Crystal People, their crystalline forms still showing cracks from the plague, spoke first. "We were wrong to doubt," they chimed. "Humanity has proven itself not through power or technology, but through sacrifice and determination. Let us honor Dr. Roberts by completing her work." Dr. Walker stood in the rebuilt lab days later, looking at the memorial plaque bearing Dr. Roberts' name. The vaccine production was now running at full speed, with every major medical facility in the galaxy participating. "We'll finish what you started, Linda," he promised quietly, touching the plaque. "Your sacrifice showed them who we really are. Not conquerors, not primitives, but protectors, partners. Maybe that's what the galaxy needed most." Behind him, the lab hummed with activity as human and alien scientists worked side by side, united in their mission to save life in all its forms. The main conference hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with anticipation. Representatives from every spacefaring race had gathered to hear humanity's proposal for distributing the vaccine. Dr. Walker stood at the central podium, his voice steadied despite his nervousness. "We are releasing the complete vaccine formula to everyone," he announced. "No patents, no trade secrets, no political conditions. Every world will receive the full data package needed to produce it locally." The chamber erupted in chaos. Such an action was unheard of in galactic politics. Most species expected Earth to use the vaccine as leverage, to demand advanced technology or political power in return. "This is a trap," the Meridian representative insisted. "No species would give away such valuable research freely." Dr. Stone stepped forward, holding up a data crystal containing the complete research files. "On Earth, we have a history of sharing medical breakthroughs. The polio vaccine, insulin, and many other discoveries were given freely to save lives. We believe knowledge that can save lives belongs to everyone. The council leader's golden form pulsed with interest. And what does Earth want in return? Partners, Dr. Walker replied simply. We want to work together. The Void Plague taught us that no species can survive alone. We're stronger together than apart. Over the next few days, Earth's pharmaceutical companies began working directly with alien manufacturers. Human scientists traveled to various worlds, helping set up production facilities. The process wasn't always smooth. Different species had different manufacturing capabilities and needs. In his temporary lab on a Crystal People's homeworld, Dr. Walker faced a unique challenge. Their crystalline biology required a completely different delivery system for the vaccine. The standard injection method won't work here, he told his team. Their bodies would shatter. Then he remembered something from the original research. What if we aerosolized it? Made it something they could absorb through their natural growth process. The idea worked. By combining human medical knowledge with alien technology, they created new ways to deliver the vaccine to every known form of life. Even energy-based species could now be protected through specialized field generators. Trust grew as humans proved again and again that they had no hidden agenda. When the deep space miners couldn't afford the raw materials needed for vaccine production, Earth's governments provided them freely. When the Meridian Empire's production facilities were damaged by riots, human engineers helped rebuild them. I don't understand, First Light said to Dr. Walker one day. Your species could have demanded anything. You could have become the most powerful force in the galaxy. Why choose this path? Dr. Walker looked out at the stars through the station's viewport. Because power isn't what humanity needs. We need friends, allies, teachers. The galaxy has so much to offer if we work together instead of competing. The distribution effort became the largest cooperative project in galactic history. Species that had never worked together were suddenly sharing resources and knowledge. Old enemies found themselves working side by side to save their people. In the station's medical bay, Dr. Walker watched as the millionth dose of vaccine was prepared for shipment. The automated production lines, a mixture of human and alien technology, worked perfectly together, just like their creators were learning to do. Production rates are exceeding projections, the station's AI reported. At current speeds, we can reach every infected world within 2 months. Dr. Walker smiled, thinking of Dr. Roberts and her sacrifice. She would have loved to see this. Humans and aliens working together, saving lives, building trust. The vaccine wasn't just curing the Void Plague. It was curing centuries of isolation and mistrust between species. Begin final distribution phase, he ordered, and send word to Earth. Tell them it's time to start planning the interspecies medical exchange. We have a lot to learn from each other. As he watched ships from a dozen worlds leave the station, carrying hope to the far corners of the galaxy, Dr. Walker knew they had achieved something greater than just finding a cure. They had found a new way forward together. 1 year after the Void Plague crisis began, the galaxy celebrated. The deadly virus that had threatened to destroy civilizations was officially contained. In the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, representatives from every world gathered for a historic announcement. Dr. Walker stood before the assembled species, his hair a little grayer than a year ago, but his eyes bright with pride. Behind him, holographic displays showed the final statistics. Billions of lives saved, thousands of worlds protected, and 0 new cases in the past month. Today marks not just the end of the Void Plague, he began, but the beginning of something new. Humanity is honored to accept full membership in the Galactic Council. The chamber filled with the sounds of celebration. Everything from crystalline, chiming to energy pulse whistles to traditional human applause. Species that had once feared Earth as a primitive virus-filled world now welcomed it as a valued member of galactic society. First Light, now Earth's strongest ally in the Council, floated forward. Let the record show that humanity proved itself not through conquest or advanced technology, but through compassion, adaptability, and the willingness to help others. The council leader's golden form expanded with approval. Earth will serve as the foundation for our new interspecies medical exchange. Their unique evolutionary history and approach to medical science has much to teach us all. Dr. Stone, working with alien engineers, had already begun construction of the exchange's main facility in orbit around Earth. The massive station would house research teams from every known species, working together to solve the galaxy's medical challenges. Our primitive evolution forced us to adapt to countless diseases, Dr. Walker explained to a group of young alien medical students. Each challenge made us stronger. Now we can share that strength with others. The station's laboratories combine the best of all worlds: human biological knowledge, alien technology, and shared determination to protect all forms of life. Teams that had worked together during the plague crisis stayed on, their bonds of friendship transcending species barriers. In one of the station's observation lounges, Dr. Walker sat with First Light, watching Earth rotate below them. A memorial to Dr. Roberts stood nearby, her sacrifice honored by all who passed through the station. "Did you ever imagine it would end like this?" First Light asked, its blue glow pulsing gently. "When we first contacted Earth, we thought we were protecting the galaxy from you." Dr. Walker smiled. "Sometimes the things we fear most turn out to be exactly what we need. Humanity's messy evolution, our world full of viruses and bacteria, prepared us for this moment." The station's AI announced the arrival of another research ship, this one carrying scientists from a newly discovered world on the galaxy's edge. They too would join the exchange, adding their unique perspective to the growing pool of knowledge. "The galaxy feared our diseases," Dr. Walker mused, "but they taught us something valuable: how to adapt, how to survive, and most importantly, how to help others survive too." In the years that followed, Earth became a center for medical research and innovation. The human approach to medicine, combining natural immunity with advanced treatments, revolutionized galactic healthcare. Species that had once lived in sterile isolation learned the benefits of controlled exposure and natural resistance. Even the crystal people, who had suffered most during the plague, established their first medical university on Earth. Their crystalline students learned to integrate human biological principles with their unique physiology, creating entirely new fields of medicine. Dr. Walker eventually stepped down as head of the exchange, but his legacy lived on. Every year, new breakthroughs emerged from the collaboration between humans and aliens. Diseases that had once devastated entire species became manageable, thanks to the combined knowledge of galactic civilization. Looking back, the Void Plague crisis marked a turning point in galactic history. It proved that true strength comes not from isolation or advanced technology, but from working together, sharing knowledge, and helping others. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy wasn't the vaccine itself, but the lesson it taught: that sometimes the most powerful solutions come from the most unexpected places, and that no species, no matter how primitive they might seem, should be underestimated.